Welcome to the fifth episode of WhiTeeee podcast. Well, it's not named WhiTeeee as racism, but it's WhiTeeee because it's just the channel name. Today, I'm gonna make this podcast as I'm eating. I'm eating a Moroccan national dish, which is, it's not one of those popular dishes, as the Moroccan popular dishes are couscous and tagine or tangia. This is closer to tangia or tagine, but it's more of with a vegetable that I really love, which is not broccoli, but almost like broccoli, but white and just better and more flourished. And this dish was actually the best dish that I've ever had in my life, as not just this dish, but it was my favorite meal throughout all my life, right? You know, when people ask you what's your favorite food, this is my favorite food since I was a very young lad. Now, I'm going to be eating this Moroccan traditional way, as I really want to talk about two topics today in this podcast. The first one is creating, the second one is sleep. Now, creating is inspired by Elon Musk's latest podcast. As he said, you have to create more than you consume, or you have to put more output than your inputs, and the value of your outputs must be greater than the value of your inputs. I said, well, like, that's well, that's kind of crazy. Not crazy, but that's so interesting for Elon Musk to say it. And also for sleep, as I talked a lot about sleep in this channel, especially early on, but I think I might have changed a bit, or at least maybe changed a bit. Yeah, let's just put it at that. Now, I wasn't going to make this video. I was going to eat. So this is my lunch, or my brunch, or my dinner, whatever you want to call it. And I said, well, I really want to eat. So what should I do while eating? You know, I usually watch YouTube videos. I said, well, I don't want to watch YouTube videos as to this equation that Elon Musk said, which is like the value of what you create must be greater than what you consume. I said, well, that's interesting. So I can't really just watch YouTube videos. Now I gotta do something else. So I said, instead of watching YouTube videos, let's make the videos myself, which is why I'm filming this podcast. All right, let's start with the creating part. Now, creating is such a vague name, or a vague, topic, as creating can be anything from products, services, to content, to art. I'd say that's sort of creating as well. So there's a lot of forms of creation. And also, I'd say lately I've heard the Kai Cenat, who's quite famous, talking about creativity. I was like, well, it has such a interesting name. So I thought about it. I said, creativity, it's pretty much to create, as that is the noun, is creativity, right? And it's so interesting to see such a broad words. When we use creativity, we always jump to the conclusion of what we usually mean, which is like almost artistic and these beautiful wavy lines of colors. But we never think of actually just creation in general. Now for content, it's definitely easier and simplified a lot. And I'm pretty sure in your field as well, it will be simplified if you're not a content creator. And as content, it's just simple. There's videos, you can watch them, or you can create them. It's just like as simple as that. So one simple, interesting fact that I noticed, I'm quite big on a bit of let's call it self-help or trying to be the best version of yourself. And when Elon Musk was talking, it doesn't feel like he does that at all. For good or for bad. But that really has gotten my attention today. As he never talked about being the best version of himself. He talked about simulations and all of that. But it's kind of like, I don't know about that. But when it comes to the best version of myself, I go a lot on it. But he never said it. Not even once. Although you'd expect someone who is the number one on the leaderboard financially in the world, to say one of those lines that I really don't compete with nobody, I compete with myself, whatever. But no, it's almost as if he never says that. Now, one other thing I noticed as well is I'm very focused on the product so let me state this. You see when Mr. Beast, Jimmy, makes videos and he's like, when he goes on podcasts, all what he talks about is how he makes his videos. It's almost just like that. Elon Musk with lately with this podcast. He was just talking about how he makes his products. He's like, well, Starlink is like 200 or 350 kilometers away from Earth, and it's connected to each other with a laser, so each one, even if one goes wrong or it gets saturated, the people still get connection. And he almost talked about it deeply, but still in a way, in language that obviously you can't understand. As obviously I'm not an engineer. I'm not Wi-Fi, whatever it's called, engineer. But I still understood him, right? And I would say it's such an interesting fact about him that he's really almost obsessed with how he makes his products. And I get it. And I would say personally, I was like that for a while, a few years ago, like 5 years ago. But you get hit hard with reality and monetization, which they don't seem to talk about it. Because if I assume that, okay, tomorrow I'll wake up and I'll say, I'm just going to focus on the products, I know that I have no hope of making money anyway. So monetization is gone, right? So it's such an interesting fact. And I would say, if I would have to assume, is maybe when you get to a certain level, you have the privilege to do that. But I'd say at the beginning, no. Anyway, let's move on to sleep. Oh boy. It's going to be interesting. So sleep is probably one of the most important things in life. It really does help. I'd say if you really want to play it safe, the best way to sleep is to sleep early, wake up early. I couldn't say it any simpler than that, right? Meaning, you sleep when it's dark, wake up when it's light. So that's how we usually do it throughout the entire year. As I go through college, I go through other shit. But lately, as I didn't have to go to college every single day, my sleep schedule sort of changed a bit. And obviously the primary goal was to get it back, which I did, right, quite easily. But the point that I was really exploring here is the fact of the power of no sleep. And just listen to me about this. Musk talks about the grind and how he works like 120 hours a week. But there's something about working without having enough sleep. Like, I just slept 3 hours. I've been awake for 20 hours, right? That sort of gets you on this hungry mentality form, as if like your body's saying, well, there's something wrong, as one of the normal things that I'm used to has just changed, so I gotta get it back. So it's almost like you panic, you become clearer, you become sharper. It's almost like anger. But I'd say the downside of sleep, like having no sleep or having less sleep, is if things really go south, you're fucked. Now they can go south a little bit, it would be fine. But if they go genuinely the far south, like as south as it gets, you're fucked. Because you won't have the ability to actually do anything, if that makes sense. Now, I'd also say that I generally don't drink coffee. I drink a lot of tea though. Maybe like 2 pots of tea a day. But nevertheless, let's go back to creation. I like that topic a bit more. Fluctuates my energy. So, all right. Let me share my journey about creating. I'd say not usually, but sometimes I do this time analysis. It's kind of interesting. Where basically what I do, I get a piece of paper and I write down every 15 minutes of the day. And I go through all of it. And the point is to sort of fill that. So as an example, now I'm filming, I write down I'm filming or I'm eating, whatever. So I don't do that every day, but there's periods when I do. And the last time I did it was in November. Well, I'm doing it these days. These days is a bit better because I'm working this problem I'm explore now. So in November I did. I was very good. I was doing good in November. It was the best version of myself, right? But I almost have this crash after. I was like, I'm looking at the time, whatever, and I get angry as if I really want to upgrade my time usage. I really want to be faster, want to do more things, I want to do this. And it's almost as if I'm looking to be faster and I just crash, explode. So that's definitely true. I'd say that the sweet spot is, what's the sweet spot? Let me think. It's sweet, almost the sweet spot. So I'd say what makes me crash, what's the hardest thing for me is speed more than filling time, if that makes sense. It's like, I'm fine with just being in movement and creating all the time. What I'm not fine with, or humanly, like when it seems that I go down, is when I try to do something in very extremely short periods of time. It's like, oh, I give myself 5 minutes to finish this play. I give myself 3 minutes. And I sort of go in this trend in my mind that everything I do is a race, right? I'm going to college. I have to do it in 3 minutes. I have to do it in 3 minutes. I have to do it in 3 minutes. I'm looking, right? Even if it's not true, obviously that helps me increase the speed. But I would say those are the main reasons that leads to me crashing. And when you see Elon Musk, he definitely doesn't have this. He definitely doesn't have this problem, man. So when it comes to creating, one of the things that I was thinking about, it's almost as if I was thinking about in my sleep. But nevertheless, It was the point about training. And oh yeah, it was actually Leila Hormozi, which have made a video about Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and she was talking about how people buy liabilities instead of assets, and that's the difference between the rich and the poor, according to Robert Kiyosaki, Think and Grow Rich. I read the book as well when I was young. Yeah, it's probably also my first book when it comes to self-help and finance. But also, it's one of those things that was like, okay, let me think about it for a little bit. She said, poor people buy liabilities, rich people buy assets, middle people or average people, whatever, buy liabilities and think they're assets. I was like, well, that's interesting. So the first thing that got to my mind was training. And immediately I linked it with Elon Musk's, talking about value. I said, when you go to train, like I have to pay a gym membership to go to train, etc. So there is an input, right? You have to pay. Okay. And what's the output that you do? What it is that is created from going to the gym? Also, obviously, well, your health, you become in a better physique, your health is in general, like you become fit, right? It's just like your health for the future. And they said, is that creation? Is that creation? So it's a complex topic, or a complex question that I asked myself. It's definitely so. I'm a nurse, so I have to answer this. So it's a creation when it comes to the inside. So metabolically, it's creation because obviously it's construction of muscles. It's not necessarily you're constructing much muscles when you go to the gym, but let's say it's hoping, whatever. So like hoping for constructivism. So that's one side. When it comes to the outer world, the only contribution that you will probably push with going to the gym is having better energy, better mindset, maybe becoming friendly, whatever. Looking in a better shape, almost having a smile or a positivity. People liking you. You don't become afraid of hard work. I'd say even standing up for yourself, but I'm not sure if that can be contributed directly to going to the gym. But such a question is so interesting, man. It really makes you think. I've just woken up and I opened my phone. So I'm really trying to consume as little as possible on social media. So here's the thing. There's this actor, I forgot his name. Probably you do. Probably you do remember, who acted in Interstellar. Christopher Nolan's movie is the best in the world, whatever Oscars, whatever he got. So that actor was on a podcast. I don't know which podcast. It's not Chris's one. I hope. It's not a hope, but it looks like a different set. I haven't watched that podcast neither, but I've seen a clip. And he says, what did he say? He was talking about sleep, which is also one of the things that drove me to speak about it in here. It was talking, he said something interesting, man. He said, when I was young, it was illegal for us to sleep in the household. Illegal. Okay. So me, my brothers, my father, it was illegal. I have never seen my father sleeping in my life. Okay. And he said, until one day in the afternoon, which was like 12 p.m., I saw him sleep. So you don't know what's that? Oh my God, my dad is sleeping? What? Doesn't make any sense. And he said, two and a half months later, he died. Which what really drove me here. And there's a lot of influencers or content creators or gurus that talk about this aspect of like, fuck sleep, sleepless night, whatever. So interesting, man. I would say I don't prefer to go through that rabbit hole because also your face becomes dim and it's just bad, man. Unhealthy. And also for recovery if you're going to the gym, fuck's sake. So what he said, and the reason why I mentioned this, he said there was no TVs. You were allowed maybe like 15 minutes or an hour or maybe no TV at all at night. So he said whenever we were watching TV, my mother would beat us up or would beat me up. And he said she would go, there's no TV. Why would you watch other people while you can do it yourself? Huh. That's big. Right. And that's really what drove me the idea. It was almost complimentary to what Elon Musk said about create more than consume. So I was like, huh. Well, lately I've been consuming a lot of videos. But what if I just go with this mindset? Every time I have the urge of watching a video, which I do have a lot, instead, what if I make the video? Huh. That sounds infinitely better than watching videos. Hopefully my bank account would agree. Well, not now. I'm not making any money with this podcast. But anyway, so the point is, it really drove me home. I said, man, as an example now, I spend so much time watching other people eat. I said, why don't I film myself eating? Oh, well, I don't have like a good setup for eating. Well, I just had a bunch of clothing, behind me. I just changed its place. Right, I put it behind the camera or whatever. And yeah, I have a setup now. So there's something about this that really clicked with me. Obviously, there was no clothing, so chill. That was an example. There's something about this that really hits me hard. And the reason behind it is because, man, I create content in different ways, different languages, different forms. And lately I was consuming content and they love it. That's the thing. When you see people on social media, they're like, oh, dopamine detox, stopping social media. It's like they hate it. They don't want to watch social media. I love it, man. All right? I generally like watching good YouTube videos. And also, I'd say equally, maybe a bit more, I like creating great YouTube videos as well, or podcast episodes like this, the 5th episode. Hooray. Anyway, let me talk about audiobooks here for a sec. I think it's going to make perfect sense. Audiobooks, I've read the $100 million Money Models by Alex Hormozies yesterday. And I haven't read it, but it was on repeat, audiobook. Well, not on repeat, like twice. And the first time I heard the course, whatever, I barely understood anything, which is kind of interesting, right? It's an audiobook. It's meant to, be understood. I really haven't understood nothing the first time. I got a bit of an idea. Second time, though, really gave me ideas. Well, it's not showing, but there's a whiteboard right there. So that whiteboard is filled with ideas I got inspired while actually listening to the podcast. Audiobook. But I would say right now, there's so many ways to produce anything, like produce products, produce content, produce anything. And there's also various ways to consume content. There is written, there is words, there is books, there's audiobooks, there's podcasts, there is videos, there is live streams, there is shorts, there's different platforms like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. And I generally do think that we really have to learn about how to use them in a way that helps us. So I'm gonna stop here for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this topic, obviously eating the best food in my, my most preferred favorite food. So please subscribe me. Well, not please, but subscribe so I know that you like these topics. So make sure that the next episodes actually talks about the topic you like. Thank you.